Good evening, everyone. My name is Onchantho Am, and I'm one of the co-founders of ACT, also known as Asian American Pacific Islanders Coming Together. We are an independent, nonpartisan group of concerned Central Florida citizens who want to make a difference in our community. So you might ask, what's the goal? Our goal is to engage, educate, and empower the AAPI community in Central Florida by amplifying the AAPI voice through voter engagement. This evening, you'll also get the chance to meet my co-founder, Kamalakar Shenai. And unfortunately, Ricky Lee is also a co-founder, but he's unavailable this evening. Our core members include Amy Akamine, if you want to raise your hand or wave. Gregory Wang, Alexis del Fonzo, Kenway Wong, Sandra Leong, Aga Sta Romana, who's not available this evening, Gong, and our favorite deputy, First Class Tom Lin. We'd like to thank you all for attending our very first ACT Town Hall. As you all know, this is a critical time, and this movement, as well as others, is greatly needed to help the AAPI community. And all of us are playing a significant part. And for that, we are grateful to all of you for giving your time to act. Along the lines of gratitude, I would like to acknowledge the following representatives and local officials for giving your support by being in attendance. So as I call your name, would you kindly stand or wave to be recognized? And you can sit right back down, or you can stand the entire time. So we have Judge Denise Beamer. We have Judge John Beamer. We have Judge Vincent Chu. We have Judge Andrew Bain. We also have a representative who is the Vice President of Orange County Asian Committee, Sean Tan. We have Agnes Chow, who is the President of Youth Enrichment and Senior Services. And we have Camilla Kung from AsiaTrend, who's a board member. We have Amy Akamine, who's the President of the National Association of Asian American Professionals. We have Kenway Wong, who's the President of the Greater Orlando Asian American Bar Association. We have Katie Wynn and Greg Mosswinkle, who's a Secretary and Board Member of Asian American Chamber of Commerce. And we also have Alexis del Fonzo, a representative of the Philippine Nurses of Central Florida. We also have Caesar, who is the president of the Hispanic Bar Association of Central Florida. We have Amy Olive Corona, might be mispronouncing your name, I apologize, Board of Soto District. And we have Deputy Tom Lin, who is Orange County Sheriff's Office. Again, thank you very much for being in attendance. Everyone's support out here tonight means so much to us. A few housekeeping items. I want you all to know that this meeting is being recorded by our community sponsor, Gary Lau with AsiaTrend, so please conduct yourself accordingly. Additionally, we ask that you please reserve any comments or questions until the end, when we'll have our open discussion segment later this evening. So now, why are we all here on a Monday evening when it's about the storm outside? Is a key question, right? Each of you are here for very different reasons, but essentially it's to support the movement. I would like to share my reason why I'm here, and next I'll ask Cam to come up and share his reason why he chose to act. For me personally, I became more engaged in 2019 when I learned the troubling statistic that the AAPI community is one of the fastest growing demographics, but yet it has the lowest voter turnout rate. I'm going to say it again. One of the fastest growing demographic, but yet one of the lowest voter turnout rate. So my immediate question was, why? Why is this happening? Was it registration or voter accessibility? Was it the lack of knowledge about our candidates or amendments on the ballot? Or was it because we felt like our voice wasn't being heard? That it didn't matter? So I'll be honest, there was quite a few times when these questions resonated with me to the point I felt troubled. Realizing the depth of my concern, I asked them the next question. How do we fix this problem? How do we address this issue? How do we go about doing that? So when I served as the president of the Greater Orlando Asian American Bar Association in 2020, I again recalled the troubling statistic and I presented it to our board members and our board of directors. And from there, we made the voter initiative one of our key programs with partnerships with local organizations like MAP and local businesses like Rockstar Axe Throwing and Pom Poms. You'll be really surprised what local businesses will do when they felt like they were heard. So according to the AAPIData.com, the 2020 presidential election saw a major increase in voter engagement among Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, building on record gains in voting in the 2018 midterm elections, where midterm voter registration turnout jumped across every segment of the AAPI community. Every segment including by age, by gender, and geography. The members of GOABA and NAP believe that our initiative was one of many drops in a bucket that helped this tide of change. The people here today, and I believe that you all here today, because you firmly believe that ACT can build upon this 2020 foundation and continue to swell the tide into a sea of change. So today, and most recently, I see that our community are facing several challenging issues, ranging from hate crimes, rising gas prices, inflation, gun control, immigration, reproductive rights, and more. By the end of this town hall, we hope you take with you the empowerment to help amplify the AAPI voice in our community through voter engagement. And that is my why. I'm now going to ask Cam if he would join me at the podium and share his why.
Thank you, Ron. That's the question, why ACT? So I have two reasons. One of them is math-based, numbers-based. And the second one is emotion-based. So I want to share with you both. And when I go through it, you realize the opportunity we have in front of us. So here are the numbers. You don't have to look at the slide, but there are three key numbers on this slide. If you look at the AAPI population, there are 25.6 million of us, which is about 6 to 7% of the population. The voting bloc is about 11 million. And we contribute, our buying power is 1.3 trillion. 1.3 trillion is our buying power. Okay? However, and yet, as I call it, we are 7% of population percentage, but our representation in all kinds of government, local, Senate, municipality, is 0.9%. In engineering, we call it insignificant. less than 1% representation, 7% the population. Do you see the disconnect? It is absolutely ridiculous to have that kind of a difference. So, what do we do about it? So, Juan mentioned about our voice. I say we have a voice, but it's a whisper. There is a song, Careless Whisper. That's what we are. Our whisper is absolutely, nobody cares. But we can change it. So keep that word in mind, whisper. So now, I said, why is it so? So I went around and my latest count is 67. I asked 67 different people. I gave them the same statistics that I shared with you. On top of that, I gave them 2 other statistics. One is, I said, did you know that the median income of AAPI is $23,000 more than the average American? Next question. Do you know our graduation rate of college degree is 55% versus the 33% of average American? And the answer was, we didn't know that. This was the answer. Unbelievable. We didn't know that. How can it be? We need to change. So that shows, and nobody's fault, that there's a lack of awareness of the magnitude. Numbers do matter in politics. You all know that. Big numbers are more important than small numbers. We have big numbers, but we are acting small. We can change that. So that's what this is all about. So I said, okay, so let's just look at facts. I'm still into this numbers game. I'll come to the emotion in a minute. And Bill made me so smart during the COVID time that we didn't recognize each other's faces because we were wearing masks. And he gave me a lecture on, not lecture, an education on statistics. I like numbers. And he sent me reams and reams of paper and I was all engrossed in it. And I said, I can't go through the whole thing with you. How about one slide? 11.5 million eligible voters. This is the United States. And vote 6.9. Why didn't we get 11 million votes? So there is a gap. One is the registration gap and the participation gap. Those are the 2 gaps. So it's all about voter registration. On alluded to it, we will say it again and again. I'm sure Bill will hammer that on even more. So I did some more math before I get the emotional piece. If we had increased our registration by 20 points and penetration by 1 point, we would have gotten 2 million more votes. 2 million more votes. Bring it to Orange County. I will use the number because I think Bill is going to go through those. Suffice to say that if we had increased the participation and the registration, 20 points and 1 point, we would have gotten at least 9,000 more votes in the last election. Some people might say 9,000 isn't important. Look at what happened in 2020. Some of you were around. I think the candidate lost the election by, if I'm correct, by 537 votes. Every vote counts. So that's how many votes we left on the table. 10,000 votes. So what do we need to do? Before I get very emotional, is we need to, in our meetings, we've got to pump up the volume. Then we came up with a phrase. So I asked one of the younger people in this audience, have you heard of the group Man? They used to song, and I was surprised. They said, yeah, we know Michael, what was his name? And that song was very Careless Whisper was the song. You remember that? Beautiful song. So I said, let's just build our own song now. And we'll call it The Roar. So from whisper to a roar. So that's our, right? That's how we bridge the registration gap. So, the emotional reason now. Why we keep pondering on those 2 points. Somebody asked me, why really are you joining ACT? Again, I said, all right, emotional piece. said, I know for a fact, Bill, that I won't be here in year 2060. I just know that for a fact. That is about 38 years from now. No way I'll be here. But I do know that 4 grandchildren will be here. 4 grandchildren. One is 3 months old. The oldest is 15 years. So I said we got to do something to change their lives. We can sit here, we can joke, but that's why I'm doing it. That's why ACT is important to me. That's why we are here tonight. That's why we want to know why is it that we don't register? Why is it that we don't participate? And if we can find one other mention of the way, there are a lot of younger people in this audience. There are a couple of boys there. I call them young men. They had an important meeting today. They heard, one of them had never met, the other one had met for 10 minutes. And they said that we're going to change that meeting that was today. They moved it to yesterday and they are doing it today because they want to make a difference. Remember towards make a difference, that is, we have a slogan in ACT. I think Amy, you coined it. We said, let's act back. MAD, make a difference. So that's why I'm here. And with that, I will thank Juan and ask you to come up again and introduce Bill.
Thank you, Cam. Cam is, if you don't know him, is known for his acronyms. He comes up with ACT, MAD, or I love hope, or from a whisper to a roar. And as much as we have so much fun in our meetings, I think at the end of the day, we can easily summarize the passion behind it with those acronyms. You can usually say, I have hope. Let's have this whisper be a roar. Let's act mad. And I feel like that is something that any demographic, any age group can say that they understand and appreciate. So thank you, Cam. So I have the privilege to introduce the Supervisor Bill Cowles to join us and speak about the role of the Supervisor Elections Office and the challenges that he faces day in, day out. Because the election, his work doesn't stop when there's not election season. He's always working, and his team as well. And also, he'll also shine some light on how the community can help. But before I do that, Bill, I wanted to share a little bit about him because it's so important to recognize all the hard people who are working to make this possible. So Mr. Cowles is part of the Orange County Supervisor's Elections Office we're involved since 1989 after serving 13 years on the staff of the Central Florida Council, Boys Scouts of America. He was elected as the Orange County Supervisor elections in 1996. Some of us here were not even born in 1996. And has been re-elected each time in every election since. Not to mention, he also supervises the 5th largest county elections office in the state of Florida. So no pressure, Bill. I'm giving the mic to you now.
Thank you. And welcome to our house. Your house, actually, because it's your tax dollars that paid for this building. So I'm glad to have you be able to host this, and much better than doing our Zoom meetings that we did before. So I could stay here and keep you up all night telling you about what I know about the elections and about the elections office. But we boiled it down to a couple of areas. We're going to talk about Orange County and the agent numbers. Then we're going to talk about election information. And we're going to talk about language assistance. And then one last item, which is one of those call to action items. So first off, there's numbers. Orange County population, 1.4 million residents based on the count during the 2020 census, and then the total population for the agent that's what the census said. Then we took the look at the total number of registered voters, and there's 36,030 registered voters in Orange County. And we'll talk about that. Then what I did was statistically, I went back and looked at it to see how it breaks down into counties. You know, the county's broken down into 6 single-member county commission districts, and so we broke the numbers down there. You'll see County Commission District 1, which is the Horizon West, Windermere, Dr. Phillips area, is number 1, and then number 4, District 4, which is the east side with the Lake Nona, growth going on in Lake Nona and Avalon Park. So just to give you kind of a breakdown where in the county the population lives. And then we went back and looked at who the top 3 precincts were, the 3 largest precincts in turnout. And so we found that to be 3 of them. They're all down on the top of Vineland Road, south of Sand Lake Road, and over towards the Windermere area. But I do have, and we'll use a copy of the numbers for every precinct and all the statistical information that I did for that. So those are the top 3. Obviously, the biggest thing that has happened this year is the year of reapportionment, where all the drawings of all the districts at the various levels have now happened, and we need to put them all together. So the first one here is United States Congress, and there is a map around the room. There are the 5 maps for the new districts, so you can take a look at them. And also at the very back is one that shows the 241 precincts and their boundaries. But the congressional district, you can see that there are 4 districts that touch Orange County. The one thing about when they draw the districts for state, Congress, congressional level, state and House, they start in Pensacola and Key West, and they draw to the center. Then they have to tie it all together in Orange County. So that's how come we get so many different districts. So it does say up there that we got 4. It does say there was technically a 5th one, but we've taken care of that. We put one census block that is nothing more than asphalt on McCulloch Road, which is the dividing line between UCF and Seminole County. So there's nothing but roadkill there. There are no voters living there. So we really only have 4 congressional districts in Orange County. And one of them you probably been hearing a lot about, Congressional District 10, where we have 18 candidates, which I think is a record for Orange County. All right, then we have the State House and the State Senate maps are up. And so in the State Senate, we have 5 Senate districts. But when you go to look at the maps, and when you look at the 10 House districts, you're going to find that there's very few of them that is strictly in Orange County, because they take in Lake, Osceola, Brevard, around Seminole as part of those districts, and there's very few of them that are completely in Orange County. Then you got the County Commission District. They grew their new ones. I'm one of those voters that got affected, because I used to be in County Commission District 1, and then they moved Gotha into District 2, and so now 2 years ago I voted for District 1. This year I'll be voting for District 2. So a lot of voters are going to be confused on who their elected officials are, because it's not always the same as a result of this redistricting. So that's the county. School board, they have 7 single-member districts, and so with that single-member district, they have 7 different than the counties. So things don't always add up. We can put it all together. So we have to put it all together, and that's where we take it afterwards and kind of go look at the maps on there. One of the things about the voter registration file, the voter registration file is public record. And one of the things that Amy and I talked about in the prep meeting was the fact that that file is public who represents you. So from that standpoint, you're going to be beginning to see mailings from us and voter information. So on the voter registration side, let me talk about voter registration first. Voter registration is a live, active file. People come in and register, people move out of the county, people pass away, people become convicted felons. So we're constantly updating that file. The other thing that's important to know is when people fill out the voter registration form, ethnicity question is not a mandated site or item on the form. So if they don't check it, they still get registered. So when you look at our statistics by precincts or countywide, there's a lot of unknown. So you could have more members out there, but we don't know it because they didn't check the box. So that's something that you can look at as you look at the file. The other thing that we talked about that you might find interesting is they've now gone back to in-person ceremonies. The immigration is doing the naturalization ceremonies now down at Lake Buena Vista, not Buena Vista, yeah, on Lee Vista every week. And so as soon as a person goes through the ceremony and they are sworn in as United States citizen, the minute they walk out, my staff is there with clipboards and gives them an opportunity to register to vote right then and there. So again, that's new citizens getting that opportunity. So a lot of judicial candidates in the room. You didn't hear the speech last week at the candidate seminar. So when you talk about voting, we've changed the model for voting. It used to be you had two options. You could vote at your polling place on election day, or you could get an absentee ballot. And then along came the invention of vote by mail. If you want a ballot, you can ask for it and get it. And then along came COVID, which a lot of people wanted to vote by mail because they didn't want to go out. So you can see in this graph how we've changed how people vote. On the far left is election day, and you can see it went down to 30% of the vote in 2020. But then you can see the huge spike in mail. And so right now, the #1 way voters vote in Orange County is they vote by mail. And on your seats or after forms, that if you hadn't registered for your vote by mail ballot, or you know somebody who needs one, give them the form and have them return it to us. Second way to vote is early voting. In early voting, we have 2 solid weeks, and we have 20 locations around the county. This year, we've added 2. One in Lake Nona area. We're going to be in Valencia, Lake Nona. So that community has one now. And then on the west side, because the city of Orlando and Orange County own the property, and then there's a management company that runs Orange County National Golf. They have a community meeting room. So the new phrase out there is you can eat, drink, play, 18, and vote all at the same time. Think about it, look at the order. Figure out the order for you. Okay? So, again, the message is going out to candidates, but the message for voters is we've changed the way to vote, and so voting starts on the 33rd day before the election when we drop vote by mail ballots. So that's when the candidates are going to drop the brochures. That's when your mailbox is going to be full. And I'll give you one hint. If you want the candidates to quit mailing you, robocalling you, the sooner you vote your ballot and return it, they're not going to waste any more money on it. Okay? So if you want to get off that list, vote early by sending your ballot back in. Okay? That's how you get rid of that. Because they don't want to spend extra money trying to get a hold of it. All right. So we talked about the 3 ways to vote. And also I went back and took a look at the 3 ways to vote for the Asian voter count. And there's the breakdown. 14,500 voted by mail. 9,448 voted early. And 2,900 went to the polls on election day. So you can see we've changed the model for voting. So with the changes with redistricting, also we got changes with polling places because nobody builds a polling place. You have to go out and find it. So there have been just three mailers being planned for every voter to help prepare them for the election. The first one that we mailed out was the notice of elections. And we've got people who have called us, why did I get that thing? Did you read the information? And they're better than the ones who said, oh, more political mail and they threw it in the garbage and never looked at it. But the key thing about this whole thing is right here on the customized piece for every voter. On the one side, on the left-hand side, it says, what's your party affiliation? Because Florida is a closed primary state. So when you get to the state and federal contest on the ballot, you have to be a member of the Democrat or Republican Party to participate in their candidate elections on August 23rd, primary election. Okay? But Orange County, 42% Democrat, 30% Republican, 25% Democrat. So for most voters, because school board, county commission, judicial races are all nonpartisan, everybody gets to vote. So there's always a ballot for every voter when they go to vote in our elections here in Orange County. But you won't be in the party elections, you have to be in, and you have to do it by, you have to be registered in that party by the 29th day before the vote. Legislature took a tack on vote by mail. Used to be a vote by mail request was good for 2 election cycles. Now they've cut it back to 1. And a lot of voters got their list cut. So they have to renew, make a request. And now everybody's going to have to be making a request going forward every election cycle. So we put on there, do you have a request or no request? So that you would know. It gives you the instructions on how to make that request for the vote by mail ballot. So that one's out. If you didn't get it, you know you're registered. Might be because you moved and you didn't tell us your address. That might be why we got 45,000 pieces back in the mail. So keeping your address up to date is important. Okay? So the next mailing that's going to go out to every voter is we're going to send out, starting in early July, to every voter, their new voter information card. Do you need your voter information card in order to vote? No. Florida ID is your signature and a photo. Most popular photo signature ID is driver's license. Do you have to have a driver's license in order to vote? No. Okay. So this is going to be to let you know, first off, which district you now live in based on all the redistricting that happened to Mass here in Central Florida, Orange County. And then it's also going to list, if you are a traditionalist, you like to go to your polling place on election day, it will be listed on this card. Okay, so this is information. It's got more information about voting on it for the vote. So hopefully they'll read it and not throw it in the garbage. All right, and then the final mailing going out is the sample ballot. On the sample ballot, it lists all 20 locations for early voting, the times of the voting. It has your polling place with a map with directions, and then inside will be the ballot. The actual sample of the actual ballot the voter gets. So another way to help push the turnout is start having community get-togethers with your friends and neighbors and discuss it and pre-market, and then bring it to the polls and just move your mark to your real ballot, and you'll get in and out much faster. There is a question on this ballot, and there'll be 4 now, possibly 5, depending on the county commissioner, on the ballot in November. So pre-studying it is very helpful. So those are the mailers going out. to wrap up, language assistance. Again, the Florida, or the United States Census comes up with the population, languages spoken, and it's broken down even further in Section 203 of the Voting Rights Act. It says that certain communities with a population and the education level is greater than 5% of the population, you have to do the ballots in that language. So we're required under Department of Justice to do everything in English and Spanish as the mandate. Now, Florida law says that any voter can bring anybody of their choosing to the polling place to assist them in voting, and that includes translating the ballot. So a person can bring a translator of their choosing. They don't have to be a registered voter. They can also be younger than 18, a teenager there to assist in helping them with the language. And as Cam and I talked early on about it, right now the Haitian Creole community has asked and they've assisted us in creating a template of the entire ballot translated into Haitian Creole. And so we've talked about one of the projects this group could take on is translating for us the ballot into whichever language, and we kind of prioritize them. You all can figure that out. So if that's something you want to do, we'll work together to get the ballots. The ballots have been laid out. They're being approved now to go to the printer. So the final thing we came up with how to get involved. Obviously, one of the best ways is volunteer to be a poll worker. Come work at the polls. So we are still taking names for poll workers. But we have this one unique program that I'll leave the packet up here with the leaders. But we have a program called Adopt a Precinct. It's not an original name, but you've seen the signs whenever you drive around town called Adopt a Highway. I stole it right from that. Right now, we have about 110 community groups that actually adopt a polling place, and they work the polling place as poll workers, but instead of getting paid individually, they get all the money together for their organization. So many of these groups are using it as fundraisers. For the perfect example, Lake Nona High School band, they wanted all new instruments, so they adopted 3 precincts, paid about $1,800, $1,900 per election, per site, and they're using that money for new. So here's all the information about it. If you're not in time for August, there's always time for November 8th.
Thank you, Bill. I jotted down some notes, and to summarize it, some of the key things I heard in regard to mailers. 1, read all of your mailers from the Orange County Supervisor Elections Office. 2, if you want the candidates to stop sending you mailers, vote as soon as possible. So those are just my takeaways, but you can take away what you learned from it, but that's just my takeaways from it. So thank you very much, Bill. Now the next segment, and I think this is the segment that everyone's been waiting for, is to hear a little bit more about the survey results. And I want to say thank you very much to the core team members and also to our community members for making this possible, to reaching, or actually surpassing our goal. And also the next portion is the open discussion as well. So I'm now going to pass the torch to Pam if you want to come up here.
My takeaway was